Channel 26.
Tune in to SFCommonSense.
Or SF Commons as Instagram, SF Commons TV.
Or Channel 76.
Or Channel 29.
And I am the #1 neighborhood sports analyst. And today we're going to be talking about local elections. Campaigns for the 2016 national elections are underway, but speak to the importance of local elections. Why do you think it is important to vote and for people to get involved?
And my name is Paula Fiscal of the Paula Fiscal Show. My show airs at 3 o'clock on Channel 29 every Sunday. I also load to YouTube, and I have a Facebook page. And in reference to your first question or your first comment, local elections, I believe that the most important thing you can do is get out and vote on November 3rd for the local elections.
Hi, my name is Dee Dee LaFrac, also known as Dee Dee Russell. I'm known for my show Dee Dee TV. It's a almost 21-year-old sexist womanist bohemian trophy widow roller coaster. I subjugate men on my show in a satirical way. Men's with their shirt off, et cetera, et cetera. And rest in peace, Richard LaFrac, co-producer of the show. Why should you vote? Well, DDTV airs Friday at 11 o'clock, Saturday at 11 o'clock, I meant to say. Why should you vote? If you don't vote, you can't really talk about politics. How can you have an opinion about politics if you don't vote unless you're a convicted felon and your right to vote has been taken away from you? So I pity that. But if you can vote, vote.
Carl Bryant, Union Buzz. Our show comes on the first and third Friday of every month from 6 to 7 or 6:52. And we talk about what's going on with unions and labor. And we give you an on television live call-in program where you can call in and ask questions. We're talking about local politics now. And the most important thing you can do is, like Dee Dee said, like Paula said, get out and vote. And those people who are intelligent enough, vote for the right person or the right proposition.
Who are intelligent enough. Yes. I think all politics or local politics, because those are the direct politics that affect our everyday living. And I think if you want to be able to impact your neighborhoods directly, you should vote. And as to what you said, you should educate yourself on the topics and on the issues at hand.
That's true.
That's true.
And that's why we're here.
That makes you intelligent, right?
Right.
That's why we're here.
Yes.
We're going to share with our viewers everything about what the local elections are. And should I read my second question?
Are we still on the first?
Okay.
First question.
The first question or the first comment?
Read it out.
Is local politics. Why do you think people should get involved and vote?
We all said that.
Okay.
Okay, let's go on to number 2 then.
Number 2.
Shall we?
There's more fat to chew.
Okay, let's go for number 2.
Okay, yeah, so we can still talk about it.
We can still talk about it if you want.
Let's read the question again, please.
Why should people get involved and vote?
Right. Let's whoop it around one more time.
Well, in the first place, if you don't get involved with your local politics, then you really don't have an excuse to complain. So a lot of people go out and talk, and complain about who's in office and complain about how many bumps there are on their street. But if you don't get involved, you're not going to take care of the issues that are important to you and your family.
Carl?
Should I go? Okay, I'll go. I think that local politics are the start to national politics. If you vote locally, then it's more than likely you're going to vote nationally. And that's very important because local propositions and local elections get you started, get you educated so that you understand what's happening nationally.
And you know what? I second that. I agree because big things have small beginnings. You know, and that's the key. And I think some laws are passed silently too as well because they get passed unopposed because people aren't aware of what's happening. Now we're about to segue to the next question.
And I have that question. Mayoral elections. San Francisco's mayoral elections have averaged 11 candidates each year for the past 20 years. This year, there are only 6 candidates. Why do you think this is, and how do you think this affects the race?
I'll go first. I think there's been rumors that the mayor has behind the scenes bullied people from voting. Ross doesn't want to challenge that, even though he had the number 1 votes in a citywide election for sheriff. Right. He had more votes than Ed Lee. So a lot of people have been pushed out the race. And I think people have been somewhat apathetic as well, because I think if we had a viable challenger, we could take Ed Lee. I mean, he was just embarrassed by a rapper named Equipto when he said, Ed Lee, you're a disgrace to Asians. He said, I know you're hooked up with mobsters. And he said, you're kicking people out of the city. So I think he's taking a lot of flack right now, but right now he's the biggest name in the race. So people don't know who to vote for.
That was interesting what you said about the rapper who called out Ed Lee. Yeah. Well, I have less balls than that rapper. I'm not going to call out any politician because they run things. Hi, guys. Hi. Why do certain politicians get in? Well, it's campaign contributions. There are many communities that don't participate. They don't pool their money together. Obviously, Asians are a pro-family culture, and they put their money together. Money is what it's all about. And again, I'm not dissing any politicians. Hi. They have more power than me. I'm not going to say anything about what Mayor Lee may or may not be doing. Trust me, I've lived here since 1984. I've heard a lot of stuff about a lot of politicians.
I can dig it, man. They have those secret guys.
Willie Brown.
They'll make things bad for you.
Off the record.
Well, the other part of it is that in this city and in every other smaller city, what happens is the candidates get groomed. They get groomed from the time that they are in high school to college. It's the parents. It's the group that they hang out with. And as far as our current mayor goes right now, it wasn't that he was being groomed all along. He was a surprise candidate at the last minute. And he just happened to be a good administrator, which is why people like him and work with him in this city. Now, most mayors that run in this city, if they do a half-decent job, they do get reelected. That's just been our history here, is that we reelect our mayors for more than one term. I believe that this time around, we didn't groom anybody else to run against him, so we just left it alone. And so that's why he's practically running unopposed.
Yeah, because there's somebody that's running that has any kind of experience doing anything. What have they experienced doing? Being writers, nightclub owners, bohemians. That's not experience enough to write the city, and I'm a bohemian. to run the city. I couldn't be a mayor. If I could run, but it would be like a vanity thing. I could not really lead San Francisco.
Well, the thing that's interesting, and to piggyback off of what you were saying, I kind of think he was groomed because he's a career politician. So he was groomed by osmosis, just by experience. That's why, he was selected too by Willie Brown. He was selected for a reason. And that's why when he came in, he's able to, actually operate the position. Whether you like what he's doing or not, he can still get on the camera and talk well and address issues. He's very intelligent. And I think he doesn't really have maybe like the Asian community behind him, but corporations and big business behind him. And I think that's the power behind the throne when it comes to Edwin Lee.
Well,
you want to say something interesting. I'm looking at you.
Yeah, I do. I have a problem, and my problem is that initially he made statements to the public and to everyone on TV. He said, I don't have any intentions of running for mayor. I'm not going to run for mayor.
I remember that.
And then, is he really honest with us? Is he really being honest with you?
How many politicians are?
But how many can you catch that blatantly?
Right. Okay.
Most of the people here in the city of San Francisco saw him on television saying, I'm not interested in being mayor. I'm not going to run for mayor.
He told me that to my face.
He told that to a lot of people to their face, including television. And now, what is he? He's running for a second term.
Right.
So I don't know.
But he's not the only one to lie to the public blatantly and get away with it. We elected a president that did that with that, we have to go to the next question.
Right.
Things is getting juicy, though.
Again, I'm not talking against you, Mayor. Okay, so Proposition E. Shall the city broadcast all city meetings live on the internet, allow members of the public to submit electronically during the meeting live, written, video, or audio comments from any location and require those comments to be played, require pre-recorded video testimony to be played during the meeting, and allow the public or board, commission, or committee members to request that discussion of a particular agenda item begin at a specific time? And then there's more.
How about you?
Well, I believe that Prop E was very, very well intentioned. I understand that it was started by a group of students at San Francisco State and by David Lee, who also guided and shepherded along the process. They went out and they got 60,000 signatures. They didn't have any issues getting those signatures. The concept is that only a certain number of boards and commissions are viewed publicly by the public. This particular proposition is written to allow people that can come in and do video for the topic. But the issue is that if y'all live in Florida, you get to be on our video. So this has to be tweaked a little bit. I think it needs to have a little work done on it. And the other thing is that if the Board of Supervisors wanted to televise all of the boards and the commissions, they could just do a resolution. They could put it into the budget. But certainly, there needs to be accolades sent to the young people that put this together from San Francisco State and David Lee, the professor.
I concur.
Yeah, so I say no on E because you don't know about the cost. That's my thing. No on E.
Well, we weren't going to be talking about yes or no on E. We were just going to talk about the initiative.
Oh, I thought I was allowed to say, but give my opinion about it.
Yeah, say you, do you.
I didn't know it was censorship. Whoa.
No, it's not censorship. It's public access.
Pink and green,
No
do
on
you?
E, I say. It says Dee Lafrag.
I say yes on E, just like that.
And that's okay. Everything's beautiful. We don't have the same brain, nor do we vote the same.
Or the same colors.
I say if we vote on it, they can work out the details about the money later.
Well, to add my context to it, I think it's the progression of time. I mean, we're in the internet age, and it makes sense, that it was students that came up with this because those represent the next voters of the next generation.
That's right.
Right. So those are going to be the ones making the decisions. And then I think also, there are a number of political meetings and between politicians that aren't filmed. And then another thing too is if they will get creative enough, I think this is like a bridge to get young people to learn about politics because they could be some of the ones filming them and editing them and putting the storyboards together to put out on the internet as well. And then being that we're public access TV, this is partially what we do. We cover topics, so I gotta be for this. Union buzz. Give me the buzz on this, man.
The buzz on the electronic proposition is that I don't think it's clarified. In a democracy, it would create a lot of discussion, and the discussion would be over the internet, and that kind of discussion would be hard for you and I to get on our computers and read because it might take forever. So they need to take it in and regurgitate it. They should take it all in. We should take it all in, and the proposition should be regurgitated. And the proposition should be more, how can I say,
It's going to be edited and refined a bit. But the concept is good.
The concept is very good. And because it could lead to
more participation.
More participation and electronic voting.
That's
and
right.
That would allow all of us to vote without question. Right. Electronic voting. Right. And so, I think it's great, but I think it needs to be
tweaked,
tweaked.
Or
I like
refined, or adjusted.
Refined, right.
I mean, because it definitely is an innovation,
right.
And I also think it's an innovation to our First Amendment. And I think the internet or the hieroglyphics are of our time. So this is how we get our stories out.
That's right.
And we want inclusion in this day and time period. So that's definitely what this proposition is about. And with that, we go to you, Union Buzz, with the next topic.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yes, we there. We
Okay.
moving along.
Should the city of San Francisco, this is Proposition F, should the city of San Francisco limit short-term rentals of housing to 75 days per year, regardless of whether the rental is hosted or unhosted? Require residents who offer short-term rentals to submit quarterly reports. Prohibit short-term rentals of in-law units, and allow individuals to sue hosting platforms for the unlawful list of a unit as a short-term rental. Now, let me say that again so everybody understands.
Yeah, that was a lot of
right.
meat on the plate
That's
right
right.
there tonight.
There were no periods in this. There were no periods. Only a question mark at the end. So let me go over the end. Should the city limit short-term rentals? That's number one. Rentals of housing to 75 days per year. If you have a rental, should you be limited to 75 days per year, regardless of whether the rental is hosted or unhosted? That means someone you want to rent to, or you see it on the internet and you get it.
All right, let's start there, because that's a lot. That's a lot. Let's go. Let me go right there. Okay. Now, okay.
Let's deal with that.
Okay, yeah, now, it's somewhat out of my ballpark, but what I will say to that is I like the hosted or unhosted part, but I'm not with infringement on freedom. So you should be able to rent it out if it's short term, as long as you want to rent it out to. I'm not with anybody restricting that.
Well,
If it's yours.
let's be real clear about what this initiative is. Number one, Airbnb is the big corporate $8 billion gorilla here. They have been allowing all of the people in San Francisco that are renting as renters to be able to rent out their units and make money on them. Mm-hmm. Okay? What this proposition is doing is saying, yes, you can continue to rent, but you're only going to be able to do it for 75 days. But that's the average of what people are doing it for anyway. But what this initiative is going to do primarily is regulate it. It's going to regulate who is doing this, who's renting out their units for Airbnb. They have to register. They have to be able to prove that they have permission from their landlords, so that they can't just go ahead and rent out a unit that they're leasing from a management corporation and then not have permission from the landlord. So this is regulation in order to get more money. Right now, Airbnb is allowing people to lease out their units on their website without any permission from anybody. And they're not following up. They have enough money to put in $8 million to advertise against this proposition. They should have taken some of that $8 million and put it into our affordable housing fund. The whole issue is that if it's good enough for San Franciscans, it's good enough for them, even though they are in New York. They're all over the place. This legislation is to keep our affordable housing in San Francisco.
Affordable for who?
Yeah, that's just it. The affordable housing that is in the Mission, for example, is more easily rented out on Airbnb than it is to a long-term tenant.
Now, listening to you, I know you want to go. Listening to you, what you said, it's an interesting dynamic for me because normally I'm on the side of the renter, but I think we should be owners as well. So I think it speaks to that other class as well. To what you're speaking to protect them, to protect the owner. And the owner should be protected as well. And I think a lot of politics are based on owners and renters, people who own businesses, and also, the customers as well. So a lot of times we don't understand each other's realities and each other's politics. So I think you bring up an interesting point to that.
60% of our voters, and this is why we're all here, to make sure everybody goes out and votes on November 3rd, are renters. So that means that if they want to make sure that they have a place to live, then they need to vote for yes on F.
Interesting. So with that, we move to our next topic. And then what I'm going to say to that is, I'm going to say what Kanye West said. You got to be doing the education if you want to vote. All right, so.
What I said at the beginning.
Yeah, he said, Sway, you ain't been doing the education. But with that, we're going to talk about Proposition I next. And should the city suspend the issuance of permits on certain types of housing and business development projects in the Mission District for at least 18 months and develop neighborhood stabilization plan for the Mission District by January 31st, 2017. You want me to read that again?
No, I got it.
You got it. I think that look like you. That looks like you.
I would start on that, and I would say yes on that. On I.
Yes on I.
Yes on I.
Well, yes on I, what it does.
You gonna give us some context to that?
No context.
No,
I'm gonna listen to Paula first.
oh, no. Well, simply is that yes on I means that you want there to be a pause in the development in the mission.
Yes, because
Because there's a lot of development going on in the mission. There's a lot of gentrification, quote unquote, from the techies that are coming in and taking over the housing units. But more than anything, what it is that the city fathers and the city mothers really didn't plan long range for the mission. And they didn't really plan long range for Japan Center, and they didn't plan long range for Chinatown either.
Or
Hunters Point. But that's another TV show, because there's so many
Or the
comments on
Fillmore.
that. Or the Fillmore. Okay, so what the Proposition I is trying to do is to slow it down. That's what they want to do, is slow it down, slow down
I
the
understand
development.
All right, I gotta chime in on this one because I gotta follow up what you said. And I want you to go next, Dee Dee. I want you to chime.
I get a chance to talk?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'm not being censored?
I don't want no my sister, but I do gotta jump in because like you bring up some interesting points. I think neighborhoods are what communities. They're what make our cities, and I recommend a book. Jane Jacobs, A Life and Death of Great American Cities. And it's about development of neighborhoods and cities. And it talks about where cities go wrong at. Now, if you look at the mission is partially what ticks in the city. And just that, even without it being developed, it's the natural culture in the mission that's there. The mom and pop restaurants. It's like a festival when you walk between 22nd and 24th. And the same with Chinatown when you go up. I mean, that's what attracts money. So with that, I'm going to let Dee Dee talk. I can say more.
I've lost my train of thought. What is the question?
Prop I.
About
about
gentrification.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to synopsize, and these are my words, and no censorship, please. I'm really not in the mood right now. This city and the gentrification, they talk about it's being gentrified. To me, it's not gentrified enough. I'd say yes on this thing, slow the moratorium, but clean these freaks off the street. I'm going to put this in here as a woman because most men, they have a different perspective than women. When we're walking down the street and the freaks are using the street as their sidewalk, they are dangerous. They're misogynist. They curse every day. I get cursed out. And we'd even talk to my late husband. He didn't even see the perspective because he's a male. We really have to do something to protect the women and children in this town.
Yeah, I mean, to that,
I
don't agree all the way.
You know what? And it's like the few miscreants, everybody's like conforming to them. Like I live downtown. I was at an open air bar on Polk Street. They had to close the window because the street freaks are coming in through the window, bothering people drinking champagne. I went to another open air restaurant. You're sitting on the sidewalk. They come in there bothering you. It's ridiculous.
Well, I think a lot of things are set up in our society, around protection of women, because.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, to a certain extent, just in theory.
Oh, yeah, in theory, you're right. In theory, yeah.
Because as a male, I can protect myself, but
yeah.
How many options does a woman have, as well? But with that.
I could tell you what options I have, but, I've got to keep some things on the down low.
But with that, I think
myself.
I think certain communities, and we're coming up on the next topic, certain communities, they add an element of the city. You get rid of the Mission, you get rid of Chinatown, you get rid of Bayview, and then San Francisco is really dud. It's lukewarm. It'll just be all flash and really no light to it, at all. So with that, we go to my lovely Lady Leprechaun with the next topic.
Paula Fiscal Show, 3 o'clock p.m. on Sundays. Proposition J. Should the city establish a legacy business historic preservation fund which would provide grants to legacy businesses and building owners who have leased space to legacy businesses for at least 10 years, and expand the definition of a legacy business to include businesses that have operated in San Francisco for more than 20 years, are at risk of displacement, and meet the existing registrar's requirements. Now, Proposition J, everything to do with business. Legacy businesses, 30 years. They're going to change the rules to make it 20 years. And what they're going to do is offer the landlord $150 per employee at the end of the year and reward him for having this legacy business on their property.
Well, you know what? I think that's a great follow-up question to what we just talked about. Because we're talking about businesses and community staying, right?
Gentrification, that's right.
Gentrification. And,
this is a part of
and part of gentrification are the businesses. I mean, like you might have a coffee, like let's look at Marcus Books, for instance, right? And there are a lot of different reasons besides gentrification why they're not no longer here. But for me, when I would go to Fillmore, that would be a place I can go, sip some coffee, and sit there, enjoy the ambiance of the environment,
and get conversation.
See, when neighborhoods corrode, when you get rid of those entities and businesses that are part of the staple of certain neighborhoods and communities, and so
I agree with you.
No censorship. No,
I agree with you. Gentrification is the displacement of families who've lived in a neighborhood for generations, and you need to keep these landmark buildings because where I live at, I've seen the Twitter Village go up. I've seen buildings go down. They have to preserve some of that. That keeps the painted ladies. That keeps it funky, that keeps it real, that keeps it diverse. You can't have all these boring skyscrapers.
You know what I'm saying?
Then it's no soul. Then it's like Singapore. And if it's going to be like Singapore, start whipping these homeless guys on the sidewalk. I'd like to see that happen.
Start whipping some of these politicians, though.
Well, they can whip them both. Make the politicians take drug tests and whip the homeless that are freaks.
What was that guy that got whipped in Singapore? I would like to see some politicians. Yeah.
Yes.
That happened too.
Politicians should take drug tests.
Yes. But the local businesses are also, that's a part of the gentrification thing too. And I think, sometimes I think a lot of these politicians, city developers, they had their heads stuck up their asses about what really makes a neighborhood thrive.
Yeah, but notice they're not getting rid of the Opera House. They don't get rid of their legacy buildings like the Shishi people. They keep their legacy buildings. Nobody's going to tear down their buildings.
The Opera House.
Yeah, Opera House Van Ness. Not Bayview Opera House. That's being gentrified. Black people, they...
But see, when you bring that up, that's a certain kind of classism.
Yeah, that's what the city, like you said, the city's based on billionaires. It's a total class system in San Francisco.
Right.
Totally.
But still in all, I mean, even with that classism, you can go to a local spot and enjoy the ambiance more so than something that's...
that's apples and oranges. It depends on, how you've been socialized. Me, I like a safe neighborhood. I'm not so down for whatever. I want to be safe. Wherever I'm at, I have to be safe.
I mean, you can be safe, but just because the ticket costs more doesn't mean you're going to get a better show.
Nobody mentioned money. I'm not mentioning tickets.
Right.
Safety is free as far as I'm concerned. Safety is free.
But what I'm saying is they might value more like, the Opera House or something like that than they would the Mission Cultural Center. But the Mission Cultural Center might have more of an impact on the local people. And then that's a class thing. Like just like with hip-hop, hip-hop that's what can help sustain the younger community in this city. And some people might look at it a certain way, even though billions of people across the world are affected by it, or influenced by it.
That's a whole nother topic. Hip-hop is violent.
No, it's all classes.
How safe do you want the neighborhood? How safe do you want it? Let me say this. We still on Proposition J, right? And we talking about businesses and legacies.
Good.
How is the safety? The businesses want safety. They want safety to the point that the neighborhoods are controlled. Now, when we as the citizens of those neighborhoods have to figure out how much control we want these businesses and the institutions who are in control of safety, how far we want them to
I
go.
love what you're saying, and I love your male perspective, and I will continue with the feminine perspective. I want to feel safe when I'm walking down the street. I like to see a legacy building. I want to see mom and pop stay, but I have to be safe when I'm walking down in any neighborhood.
Male and female perspectives, interesting thing.
It is true.
Opposites attract, but with that, I got to censor you on this one
It's
topic.
true, and
But
I'm
actually, I'm not gonna censor you.
and
It's your
everybody,
question next.
I'm a heterosexual biological woman, just so you'll know exactly who I am.
And I'm a heterosexual male as
And I'm
well. But your question
poor
is next,
widow.
Dee Dee.
Oh, my question number
Yes,
7.
yes.
And
We're
rest in peace, Richard LaFrac, co-producer of DD Saturday nights, 11 o'clock. He died July 26th this year. Richard was, as they say, one of the nicest guys who came through here, longtime partner. I've known him since 1984. So rest in peace, Richard. And that's why, I am how I am right now. My question is for sheriff's election, which has been a hot topic. What are some of the biggest issues you think will affect the outcome of the sheriff's race?
You was just talking about
One of the things that we have to look to the sheriff here in San Francisco as establishing is one of the things that's on the news right now is current. It's the buzz. It's about the telephone calls and the amount of money that has been exploited and has, I think it's been discriminatory toward prisoners and not toward people who are not in prison. And that is that the prisoners had to pay enormous amounts of money that they work and toil for to make telephone calls to their families and friends and lovers outside of prison. And also, this was one of the topics that the sheriff has brought to the light. And now it's gone nationwide, and I think they're going to come out with some sort of new laws or they're implementing new laws of how they are going to not do this and allow prisoners to be able to make telephone calls just like we make them and be paid and pay the same price that we pay. So with that, I'd like to also say that I think this race, the sheriff's race, is nationwide. It's not just San Francisco. It's nationwide, and it's brought out a lot of issues about males and females.
Well, yeah, it has, especially with Mercury. Yeah. But yeah, Mercury, right? But I think he's see the sheriff in some ways has more power than the mayor because it's unlimited terms. He can stay as long as he wins. Sheriff Hennessy, he was there for what?
32 years.
32 years, right?
Yep.
But here's another thing too, is I think when it comes to black people.
No, Sheriff Hennessy has no relations to Vicky Hennessy.
No, he doesn't. He does, even though they kind of look like brother and sister. But
No, they're not.
I know I say they look like brother and sister though.
They're not, though.
But they not. They could be husband and wife, but anyway. But they not. But when it comes to black people, and when it comes to just figuring out a black agenda, and what do we do about the prison pipeline and how we get more involved, I think sheriff's elections are very important. The courts are very important. As we know, the courts impact us because, we're in the system. And to realize, what we need to realize is that you can impact that system through voting. And it's why you should vote as well. Even when it comes to judges, we need to look at this whole court thing. Not even just the mayor. Even when it comes to judges are elected, and your lawyer will even tell you if he's a good lawyer.
So
hold on. I got to finish my point.
You just talking and talking and talking.
I'm going to close.
This is a monologue.
No censorship. Your lawyer will even tell you that
This is
the
like
more
his
people,
show.
the more people that you bring with you, it helps your verdict as well. So with that, we move on.
So the biggest issue, the question was, what were the biggest issues? And you guys were, pontificating about the prison, the pipeline. Aren't there any other issues on the sheriff's race besides the prison?
there are
It's not
some
just
other
prison.
issues.
There's other issues.
There are some other issues.
What are they?
Well,
It's not just prisons.
one of the biggest primary issues going on right now is Ross Mercury is very political because he was in the board of supervisors. He got into issues with his wife, a domestic relationship, although the wife was not ever a victim, and she made that real clear. And also
with him.
with Ross Karimi, our former 32-year sheriff, Michael Hennessy, has endorsed Ross Karimi, has endorsed him. And the reason he's done this is because of the significant changes that Ross has been working on in the jails, okay? People that are in the jails are our people, Latinos and blacks. And he's done some significant programming. He's allowed the prisoners to see their family more often. He started a school within the system that's gone nationwide. So there are some significant issues going on here, and that is that even though the unions don't represent him or don't support him, the unions have never supported Michael Hennessy either for the past 32 years.
That's right. One of the things that is critical in this race, and it's been brought out, and like I said before, male and female, is that a certain group of people are still on the sway, I guess, or they're trying to bring out that the sheriff domestically committed a crime and beat his wife, and that's not true. And that is not true. There was a domestic thing going on with the mayor and his wife, but it like goes on with all domestic entities in our society, whether it be him against his wife or his wife against him. And we need to not allow for certain aspects of our community to harp on that issue and to bring out all the issues, like you said, Paula, of what the sheriff has done, what he's doing, and what he's actually about. And I think that's important.
And the other big issue is that the candidate, Vicky Hennessy, is for building more jails, and Ross Karimi is not. And I don't believe that the way to solve our crime problems here is by building more jails. I'm sorry.
Well, we also need to have a good look at our justice system.
Yes.
And how it's being implemented. Because how did it come to be more Latins and more blacks in prison than anybody else in the world?
That's
Not
be
in just in San
that's
Francisco
be
and
another
California.
big show later.
In the world. How did that come to be? We got to look at the judicial system.
Don't let him go off.
Because I'm getting ready to go off. This system is what.
Well, like I was saying, I mean, I think that is a way for people to get involved because, like, the black community should get involved in those type of elections because they directly impact us.
That's right.
And like I said, when you go to court, the more people you have with you impacts how the judge is going to treat you.
That's right.
You know, because he's a politician, so he sees that as votes.
No, I don't look at judges as politicians. I look at them as lawyers. And they come from a group of wolves, and if you don't come in with enough wolves, the wolves will eat the ones that don't come in with.
Well, I look at all politicians as lawyers to an extent.
To an extent.
Yeah.
Some of those judges did have to run for office. They did have to be political. They did have to go out and shake hands, like the
But they started out as lawyers, most of them.
Most of them, yes.
And our legal system is one that needs to have some critical looks at it because
that's right.
Why is it that all of the prisons? Why is it that this country has more prisoners, Latin and blacks, than anywhere in the world? Why is it that we have more prisoners than anywhere in the world?
Because it's an industry. It builds money.
I mean, and then there's money behind it.
Yeah.
And then I think those people play
the
game
housing.
better.
Yeah.
It's a housing industry.
It's a housing industry?
Yes.
No,
it houses the guards. It houses our people. It houses our mentally ill.
And then, like we all know that sometimes judges' decisions.
You got to get in this too.
Are swayed by election years. We
That's
all
right.
know that they sway some of their decisions.
Obviously, this is a very passionate topic, and what my personal thoughts about Karimi are, I say no comment. I've seen him around town in bars. He's a tall, handsome guy, very charismatic. I can say that much. Very charismatic. But everything else, I say no comment, and I'll be voting. I won't say who, what, and where, but I'll be voting. You will see me at City Hall. I vote down at City Hall. See me in my pink beret.
And then like as far
November
as
3rd.
November 3rd.
November 3rd, get out to vote.
Vote.
Right.
And then as far as his domestic issues, I mean, again, I think, politically, I think this is kind of like a second life for him. He's kind of reincarnated because he was dead in the
He
water.
does seem more contrite. I think he's done some therapy because he looked a little whipped. I'm saying he looks more like he's like on Xanax or something.
And then
I'm sorry.
if Marion
He's more
Barry,
relaxed.
and then if Marion Barry, God rest his soul, if he can survive getting caught in a room
That's
with some
right.
crack,
That's
and then Bill Clinton, so it's like how many people have these scandals and have survived. Right. So I mean, I think that's always going to be brought up.
Clearly makes him human.
That's right. But one other thing that people haven't brought up, some of the politicians here in this city have had domestic violence.
Gavin?
I'm not saying
Adultery,
Gavin.
adultery.
That's
Drugs.
adultery.
Remember he went to
Drugs?
rehab.
No. But there has been things with the fire.
To say you're a politician means you're
What
to
about
say
the
you're a
fire
politician means you're a corrupt person
Female.
who's naughty. I mean, isn't that what they all are? Naughty, corrupt
Are
people.
there any more questions
I mean,
for
that's
us?
what politicians. That's,
We
you
do have
know,
Oh, his turn. Okay.
district elections. The last one, district elections.
District 3 election.
District 3 elections. That's the only district that's up this time.
That's the hot election.
Well, it is very hot. What are some of the biggest issues you think will affect the outcome of District 3 Board of Supervisors race?
Okay, who wants to go first on that one?
Should I go first?
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a race about all this. This is all about Aaron Peskin. Aaron Peskin was the president of the board at one time.
That's right, elected twice.
Elected
Two
twice,
terms.
2 terms, and was board. Now, I don't know.
Also head
What
of the
his-
Central Committee.
I don't know what his friction is with the mayor and their people. I
He's
don't
more
know.
progressive.
He's
He's
progressive.
going to
He's a
slant the
progressive.
whole board if he
Right.
gets on there.
Well, he does. He has a lot of. He's a powerful
He's going to
speaker.
slant the whole board if he
think
gets
so?
on there.
He's.
running for mayor?
I
tried.
swore I saw something on the internet, but I ain't gonna get into that. But the old mustache Pete, right? He's a big mustache. How many? I got a question. What's the count on progressives and moderates on the board of supervisors?
It's 5 to 6 right now.
6 right now.
For,
So
five?
with one more progressive vote, it'll be 6 to 5 in the progressives' favor.
Interesting.
So that's a big deal for Lee. That's why he's putting a lot of money into this race. And you've seen the ads. How about that Madman ad where they put on the music from Madman and they had
Yeah,
Aaron Peskin
falling
floating down.
yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, that made him look good.
Yeah, it did. I thought that was a vanity ad when I
Yeah.
first saw it. I'm like, wow, that's a nice ad.
Right.
That's nice.
Right. And see,
Somebody spent money on that.
That's
They
right.
did. It was
That's
really
right.
good looking.
And see, that's like political cold wars because what we're really talking about is a certain struggle that's continuous that's at hand between moderates and progressives. And Aaron Peskin, he's a big fish. He's a big fish. He's a lifelong politician, and
right.
he could be a next mayoral candidate as well.
That's right.
In
And
4
they're
years.
scared about. They worried about that.
Right.
They're worried about that.
He-
The Democratic Party is worried about that.
That's right. That's right.
Now,
And
what-
Aaron
what-
was head of the Democratic Central Committee for
That's right.
a term.
The Democratic Party is very worried about this election because of the sheriff and District 3. Why would we have Dianne Feinstein and Nancy Pelosi getting involved in this race?
That's right. That's right.
The only other time I seen presidential or senators and congressmen was when what's his name? I shouldn't be talking
Agnes?
about this.
Oh.
No, Gonzalez was running.
Matt,
Matt-
that's right.
Matt Gonzalez was running for mayor.
That's right.
Did they all come here? Did the Democratic Party come?
Yeah.
There's some issues that go on in San Francisco that could change the way people vote in this country. And that's why we have politicians coming from Washington, D.C. to get involved in elections here.
That's right. That's right.
That's because I do think certain cities swing the whole nation, certain cities here in states, and then I think like residents, they need to learn like the actual struggles at hand, and moderates and progressives, What kind of city is your city? Is it a democratic city? You know,
Correct.
who is a moderate? Who is a progressive?
Progressive.
What are these politics?
That's right.
You know, understand the language of what we're talking about and the dynamic struggles at hand.
And
right.
that's the reason we're here. We're discussing all of the, well, we're not discussing all the propositions, but we've discussed some of the hot topics. The
Hot topics, and this is why personally, me, Dee Dee LaFrac, I keep it cool. I've been voting for a long time. I don't get uptight about any election, about anything. I vote, but I don't get uptight about it. You can just vote and then put it out to the universe, hope it works out, and that's about it.
That's right. And I'm Paula Fiscal from the Paula Fiscal Show. And my show airs at 3 p.m. on Sundays, and it also goes up on YouTube.
And I'm the #1 neighborhood sports analyst. Today I was the #1 political analyst. And we'll get to you.
And I am Union Buzz, and I got the buzz because I put it out there. Call in and see.
And most of all, thanks to everybody for supporting Channel 29 and Channel 76. All the fans, all Bayback, the staff.
That's right.
It's our pleasure to be part of the public access community. It's my total pleasure.
SFCommonSense.
Channel 76.